Yeah.
Airplane, please.
Are we live?
We're live.
We are live.
All right.
Hello.
Thanks everyone for joining us.
Hello.
No warning, we're just live. That's okay.
We were reading some of what you guys were typing. Hello.
Hello.
We I am not saying what my opinion is until the show
me
starts.
neither. I'll have to wait and
Have
hear
to
what
wait
I think
until we officially
about
start.
Andor.
And are we doing a spoiler-free
Yeah,
part first?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone gives a shit.
We
Let's
need
ask
to do
the
that.
chat.
We'll do the 5-10 minute spoiler free, and then we'll do the.
I don't
the
think we
deeper
should do
dive.
spoiler-free. I don't think we need it. Not on this. This is like
Why not?
everybody's seen it.
What do you mean everybody's seen it?
Do you guys think we should do a spoiler-free segment in the front, or do you not care?
Well, these guys don't care.
I haven't seen it.
Okay. You haven't seen it, Ian?
No, but it's fine.
It was beef.
Short. We'll do a short spoiler-free. I agree with that. We'll do it short.
Yeah, that's what I said.
You said 10 minutes. 10 minutes is too long.
But 5 is.
All right, let's get started.
All right, should we get?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right,
Okay.
stand by.
John
Wait,
Williams is
let me-
watching.
All right, you let me know.
Let me start recording here and recording there.
You ready, Ian?
And we are rolling.
Everybody hear that? Do it again. Okay. All right.
Okay, ready?
I'm ready.
Ready?
Ready.
Hi, this is Steve.
This is Bob.
This is Jay.
We are Alpha Quadrant 6, a science fiction review show, and on this episode, we're going to review the latest Star Wars property, Andor. This is a 12-episode TV series on the Disney Plus channel. So we're going to start with a quick spoiler-free sort of overview to maybe entice you to see the series if you haven't seen it yet, and then we're going to dive in deep into some of the story, some of the background lore, some of the making of, try to deconstruct Andor a little bit. There's a lot to talk about. But first, overall impressions. Jay, what did you think?
So there is a line that you could draw.
Yeah.
And a lot of Star Wars
Is
is
below
below
that
that line. And very few things are above the line, and this show is completely above that line.
Yes.
This show hit a note in Star Wars that has never been... well, they kind of got there with
Rogue One.
With Rogue One. Rogue
And
One
this
was
is a
very
prequel
good.
to Rogue One.
It felt like Rogue One.
And it felt like Rogue One in all the good ways.
They
in
matched the
best
tone.
way. It was gritty. It was desperate. It's,
The stakes were high.
Stakes are very high for everybody. There's no messing around.
I cared about every character.
They did a great job. Like there are some characters you're like, who's that guy? I don't remember who he is, but I'm sad that he's dead.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah, right?
Because
Oh my God.
right?
Star Wars is funny. Like, for the most part, you don't know anybody's name. Right? You just can't.
Yeah.
You just don't catch them.
But don't forget, guys, there's no Jedi, there's no Sith, there's no Force, there's no lightsabers, and there's no space battles. How could this be good? It was.
I'll tell you why.
It was.
I
Characters
have
and
the
story.
answer. I
Characters
paid
and
exquisitely close attention.
Why? How could it be good?
Because the storytelling is pristine.
Yes.
It really
The
is very
character
good.
development was pristine. You cared about people immediately. Like, I can't say it because we're in the sport.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll get there. But
it was tight. It was so tight. You cannot take out an episode. Every episode is critical, pretty
Yeah.
much. The other series, like any of the other series, Mandalorian, any of the other ones, you could pull out an episode and you could just kind of pick it up.
This was a story.
This
yeah.
this was cohesive and tight, and it was the structure. There was no fluff at all here, and it's just so refreshing to see such a beautiful progression from episode 1 to 12, but without those. Those things that I would think that I would need to see in Star Wars that I mentioned, and they weren't there, and it was still compelling. I want to watch it again.
This is Star Wars.
Really,
Star Wars for
understand it.
adults. That's what Rogue One made me think. This TV
Yeah.
show, like,
Yeah.
I let my son watch some of it, but kids could watch it. I mean, there really wasn't anything in there,
Yeah.
as long as you don't mind people getting killed.
Right.
But it wasn't bloody, it wasn't gory, there wasn't too much intensity
Right.
and all that. But this is so mature. And it's exactly what we've said over and over and over again when we talk about Star Wars. You have a huge universe. Tell me a different story.
Right.
And they decided to, let's not use Darth Vader. Let's I love
Let's
the
not
Luke.
go to Tatooine.
I love my Luke time.
Enough
please.
Tatooine.
I
I love Tatooine.
Tatooine,
Been
but-
there.
But there's a
done
lot
that.
of planets in the galaxy, you know.
But I'm not saying I don't want to see more Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
I want to see more Luke Skywalker. But the fact that they told a different story, that everything about this was different, but it felt so rooted in Star Wars. And that's hard to do. But they did it. Whoever wrote and directed these episodes was 100% on the mark.
Yeah. I like the fact that they had 12 episodes. I'm so tired of 6-episode
yeah.
seasons. You're like, oh, we got 8. That's wonderful. 12 is like, I think that's a good size. Of
Yeah, it's a good
season.
chunk.
It's a good chunk. It's
And
good storytelling.
I found out recently that there's only going to be 2 seasons. And
Total, ever.
then they no, because then they're going to end right before Rogue One.
Yeah, there's
You
only
can't-
so much
Then
time.
you're done. Where can you
I
go?
thought- well, there's like 4 more years of time frame though.
2 seasons, I just heard.
Okay,
2 seasons.
that's unfortunate. I
Total,
was-
not more seasons. 2 total.
2
seasons.
total is what I recently
All right.
heard.
I mean, whatever. As long as they move on to something else, you know, and it's.
Yeah.
Again, I'm also a fan of you get in there, you tell your story, and you get out, and then you move on to a different story.
But when it's this
And not
good,
trying-
when it's this
I know
good,
when it's
you
this
want-
good.
yeah.
Like I
3
wouldn't mind if
seasons
it was
would've been
3 or 4
nice.
seasons.
But
Yeah.
but thinking of season 1, right? All right, we got to get to the spoilers. I'm running out of material here. I've got to start.
All
Talking
right,
about
Jay's
it.
itching. So, spoilers from this point forward. We make no promises. We're going to be discussing any details that we want about the show. So, if you haven't seen it, this might be a good point to pause this review, binge this season, and come back and watch the rest of the review to see if you agree with us or not about our take on some of the details in Andor. All right.
So what I liked
Yeah, go
about
ahead.
this season
Yeah.
was they didn't start with him being a rebel.
Yeah.
They showed you
They
why.
end with him
Yeah,
being
why
a rebel.
He was
became-
not Cassian from Rogue One.
No.
He was not him. He has an evolution, and I like that. It wasn't just the same guy that's not going to change for 2 seasons. He definitely has an arc.
But
that
in
he's
season
going
2,
through.
then they're going to give us. Then it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Let's see let's see where the rebellion is.
Because
Who's in it?
He was a seasoned intelligence officer in Rogue One.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
And so he's got to get there.
Yeah.
You know, now he's just a kind of a badass who doesn't give a shit.
I liked it from the moment in the very first episode when he's walking in those rainy streets, and then he goes into the strip club kind of
Yeah.
joint, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
It seemed more like an escort
Brothel.
place, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
he's walking through the corridor, and I'm like, this is a different kind of planet. Cool. You know, they didn't make it look like every other cookie cutter
Yeah.
Star Wars planet. Then, you know, those 2 bastards, and you figure out kind of quickly that these guys are probably some type of police, right? And
They're
then
corporate, basically.
when he
corporate
killed
guards.
them, I'm like, this is going to be a good show.
Exactly.
As soon as he killed them, I'm like, they are not holding back any punches. It felt right. Like immediately, because you realize, whoa, the stakes are really high. Like, you know, it immediately puts you into a different, frame of mind.
All right, here's something else I really like about this series. And this is something that Star Wars struggles with a little bit. You obviously have the big bad guys that like Darth Vader that become pseudo protagonists or anti-heroes or whatever. You're very interested in them. But most of the bad guys are faceless drones.
Right.
They're there to be killed, and that's it. And we got a little bit of like a little behind the scenes with the Mandalorian. Like maybe you get to hear the stormtroopers talking to each other. Like
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
fun.
That's
Yeah.
fun. But in this series,
Humanized him.
in this series, they you really take the perspective of some of the Imperial officers, intelligence agents, whatever, and see it from their side. Like they're not bad people. You know, they are for law and order. They just don't realize that their emperor is a Sith Lord. You know, it's like
Well, but they are.
there are a lot of layers removed from the Sith Lord, and
Right.
they're just law and order type of people.
But they don't get to see it from our perspective. That's the thing.
Right.
They're in a micro. Each one of them is in a kind of a
Yeah.
microcosm,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like it's kind of like a machine that's only aware of the 2 spaces around it, right?
Right.
Okay, so they get like I got to do this, I got to do that,
And
we see intense brutality. We see how unbelievably oppressive
yeah.
the Empire really is. Like it made me appreciate the first Star Wars movie even more, which is I'm talking about movie 4. It made me appreciate what Lucas was trying to do. Lucas had this in his head.
Yeah.
These guys are the Nazis.
Yeah.
They are as
So
bad as they come.
are.
Yeah.
They're lawful evil, right? The Empire is
Of
lawful
course,
evil,
yeah.
but there's a lot of people in the Empire who are lawful neutral. They don't realize the Empire is evil. They're not good. They prefer law and order, even if you got to break a few eggs. And those are the people, and that's the other thing you see happening in this series. People like that are rising to the top,
Yeah.
right? They're the ones who are getting promoted. Oh, you're a competent badass who doesn't give a fuck. You're promoted.
Just
you
who
know?
I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's you're the kind of person I'm looking for.
But if
and you can admire them.
if you're a scrub, like what's the character's name? Cyril Karn.
Yeah,
Cyril Karn.
He's just like
when he
a
got
stalker.
fired, I'm like, respect. They fired a character. They literally were like, "You're fired. You suck. Get out. You're not evil enough. You're not smart enough." Remember his speech? Oh my God.
That was the
Yeah.
lamest,
was so bad.
inspirational speech I have ever heard
but
in
that
my. It was
character,
painful.
but we know that character's on an arc too.
Yeah.
Oh man.
because he's he's obviously kind of a protagonist, in this.
Something's
going to
happen with him.
But he will never
He gets
reach.
second billing.
He will never reach the heights of Deidre Miro.
You don't know.
No,
that. Breaking
he
Bad,
can't.
Bob. Breaking Bad.
Oh no,
He
you can't
can't.
say that, Bob.
You can't say that.
He really, he didn't even gestate yet. Like,
pathetic.
that guy. It's true though. When we see him, he was in a position where he was like, he was like a lieutenant, right, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like he was in a higher position than he should have been in.
For season two, what are the odds that character finds himself in front of Darth Vader?
They better not bring out Darth Vader. They don't need to. They don't need to. They really
Wow.
don't. I would.
This-
Yeah,
You
just
can't.
saying.
You can't. Here's my thing about Darth Vader.
Yeah,
They kind of have him like a show pony.
yeah.
They bring him out, and we got Darth Vader, and it's like, if you show me Darth Vader, I want to learn more about Darth Vader. I don't want it to just be like a sighting of Darth Vader. I want to learn more about him.
I have to say, we talked about Obi-Wan's series, and they had to bring out Darth Vader because it's Obi-Wan.
But
and
you
they have
learned
to-
a lot about
They
Darth
confront
Vader.
each other, but I didn't like the Darth Vader in that series. I thought that
Just flat out didn't like him.
he was too angry and yelling and not. He wasn't the cool, Darth Vader.
But
from other.
I thought about that. He was definitely more emotional.
yeah.
Now, but
It
he
was just a
but,
different way to portray.
But this was
evil.
before movie 4,
I know. Well,
right? So he
but-
was he.
that you have to say that he didn't come into his full mojo.
Right, he
yet,
wasn't
but-
like it wasn't like he puts the suit on. He's all of a sudden like calm, cool, and collected Darth Vader. Like he didn't
Yeah.
fully get there. I hear
All right,
you though.
Let's
I hear
bring
you.
it back
But
to Andor.
All right,
Bring
so,
it back
so-
to Andor.
So we were talking before we started the episode, and we decided that we're gonna chunk this show up into 3 acts, right? So Act 1 is the mission, Act 2 is prison, and Act 3 is the funeral.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Act 1.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the mission. In my opinion,
heist.
I thought, the heist. I loved every single thing about it.
Mhm.
I loved the team that they had. I loved
Yeah.
I loved that they brought him in. They brought
Yeah.
Cassian into the
Most of
team.
them were killed.
Nobody trusted him.
Yeah.
Came out of nowhere. Everyone was so upset. Like this is the last part of the mission, the prep, and we've been doing this for months. You bring in a new guy to
Makes
last
perfect
week,
sense.
And so they
From
were
both
upset.
sides.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Then there was one part. There's so many things about it I liked. I even liked it down to the design of the money.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the idea that they were going to steal like a quarter
Payroll,
of the
yeah.
payroll,
Yeah.
annual payroll was
How
such
many
a,
quatlus was that?
what a cool
lot.
idea though. Like
It was
What's the
huge.
conversion?
it just came down to money. I thought that was so
Well,
legit.
they're at the beginning of a rebellion.
Yeah.
You need money. It takes a lot of credits to buy those X-wings.
Now there was one thing that surprised me,
Yeah.
and it made me, and it was there's one little red flag that went up. So Cassian is sitting. They do the mission. They pull it off, and Cassian is sitting outside with the guy that had the
Yeah,
tattoos on
yeah.
him. And then the guy with the tattoos is like,
Hey.
"Hey, let's
Let's take our cut
let's
and
take their
vamoose.
cut and
Yeah.
go." And I'm going, "Oh, he's testing him."
That's what I thought
Yeah.
too.
And then he killed him. Cassian killed him. I'm like, "Holy shit!" But what if that guy was just testing him?
Right. I thought that had the
Because-
exact same thought. I had the exact
Because
same thought.
I think he let it go a beat too long.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
why he was killed, because he took
Plus,
it
I
a
also
little bit too far.
I think Cassian didn't really care.
Yeah.
He's like, just kill him just to be sure. Because he would do that.
But they had it. Yeah, they did have a contentious relationship.
Yeah.
I just in that
But
moment
that
I
was
was
a
like,
surprise. I was like,
Yeah,
damn, dude,
totally.
I thought
really?
that was the
Surprise.
twist, and
Yeah.
then when he killed him, like, yeah, right. I did. Same thought process.
So that guy legitimately was like, "Let's rob everybody else."
Yeah, let's just because again, it's a
Mercenary.
rebellion. yeah, they're dealing with a bunch of thieves and mercenaries and cutthroats or whatever, and they're sitting on top of what was it, a million credits or something. Yeah, it's going to be tempting for the kind of people that you're going to recruit for that kind of job. Again, this is the desperate early days of the rebellion.
Right, they're not idealistic.
This is
people
before this former senators are all involved and on the front
Oh,
lines.
I get it. It was just like, it was tough, man. The stakes again were high. Like he was put into a situation where he had to.
Speaking of which, during the heist portion of the series, there's also the other plot line with Mon Mothma, who's a senator, and her dealings. So we're seeing basically the political side of the early rebellion, and they did a really good job because it's hard. I think it's hard to portray this kind of backroom politics and make it interesting. Because there's no. She doesn't get into fighting. There's not one fight involving her.
Well, it's all like Game of Thrones intrigue.
It's all Game of Thrones intrigue. But I was riveted. I thought they pulled that off.
If you write that well and act it well, you could absolutely make it riveting.
Like a cool thing that we saw was when she was giving the speech to the Senate.
Yeah.
And she's really basically saying, we've got to stop letting them step over these lines.
Yeah.
They're getting too powerful, right? That's the subtext. She's basically saying it, right?
Yeah.
And they would turn off the lights on their podiums.
Yeah.
Like we're not interested.
That's a protest, yeah.
And I was like, holy shit! Like there's and what does that mean in that room? She was being very romantic about it. She's like, we're in a temple. You know what I mean? Like, and I thought that was really cool.
That one scene spoke so much about what was going on. And it's, again, a good marker of good writing is efficiency.
Yeah.
Like, how much information did they convey during that scene? Yeah. So we know now that at this point in the game, the Senate is full of toadies. They've already, the Emperor has already made sure that anybody who's still in the Senate is towing the line.
Right. And Palpatine, just as a point of reference, Palpatine right now, he's still pretending to be a diplomat, right?
Yeah. Well, he's the emperor, but he's still pretending.
Well, I'm
he hasn't disbanded the Senate yet.
But he's still in the human form of Palpatine with the robes and all that stuff.
He's ugly at this point.
Oh, he is. All right. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure I knew where it was
at the end of
because they never showed him, and I thought that he was going to maybe make an appearance. Okay,
but so he said that look what the Jedi did to me, so he had to negate the excuse.
Okay, he's a full-on emperor. He's a full-on evil emperor at this point.
Yeah. Yes.
So you're right, Steve. So we see,
but the Senate still exists, so he's still playing the political game.
Still, but it's a complete joke.
Remember, at the beginning of A New Hope is when he disbands the Senate. That's when it's any pretense of a republic is gone.
Yeah.
Like we've wiped away the last vestiges of the old republic. Now it's just an evil empire. But at this point, he's still playing games with the Senate because he's waiting to build his Death Star and consolidate his power. Yeah. It's it's not just the power in Coruscant. He's got to control the whole galaxy.
Yeah. It's a tough job.
It's a tough job. Yeah. So, but we get all of that from that one scene. All of it. Yeah. She's speaking to an empty chamber at the end, and you realize that her only. This is it. Her next step is full-out rebellion. There's nothing. She tried to work within the system for what it was worth, and she knows it's a totally lost cause.
And it really helps explain her behavior later in the series, her continued persistence in making this happen.
Well, she's She is one of the framers of the Resistance.
Oh my
right?
God! Yeah.
So you could tell that tonally, she is the lawful good person tonally.
Yeah.
Right? You understand what I'm saying,
Yeah,
Bob?
absolutely.
So I like that because that you could see where Leia got her inspiration from.
Yeah.
Maybe, whatever, but it's in the same vein. Like we're talking about like the good guys because we learn that even in the group of good guys, like the good guys are made of semi-bad guys. Like there's some sketchy people.
Well, you always, with the rebellion, it's just like...
You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Well, there's always the politicians who are the lawful good. They're the face of the rebellion. And there's always then the people who
get their work done.
Who get the terrorists,
dirty work.
basically, who do the dirty work. Obviously, Cassian does the dirty work. And he said it. Like all of the people on Rogue One... We all did things in the name of this rebellion that was horrible. They're the people who do the dirty work.
So in this chapter, we meet the Go team. We meet all these new people right away, and I'm like paying very close attention. Like, how do I feel about these characters? I'm like checking in with myself. And it was remarkable how fast I started to like these characters and relate. I also noticed that they did character building. Like they explained to you basically the persona of each character. That guy used to be a stormtrooper, and she's the toughest person on the team. And this guy,
and the young guy writing like the manifesto. I kept thinking, is this guy like his writings are are characters in subsequent movies, like generation later, are they reading his and like
Yeah, maybe.
really thinking about him and like this guy's like a hero, you know,
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. And
Yeah.
I think that about even Mon Mothma as well. I mean, these are people
course.
that are revered. I mean, some of them are forgotten and nobody really knows what they did, but some of them are like heroes, you know, heroes of the rebellion generations later.
And when you think about when we get introduced to Mon Mothma in movie 4,
Mothma. Mothra's a-
Mothra. I call her Moth. Remember
It's a big
Mothra the
monster.
monster?
Yeah,
Whatever.
Mon Mothma.
I've never been able to get her name in my head
Right?
straight
It's just like-
since I was a kid, right? I just can't remember it correct.
How
So
about the Mon Calamari?
Calamari, yeah. So we first meet her. We meet her for like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
I love that there is a character in one of my favorite movies who now they just like, okay, we're going to completely
flesh her
accordion
out.
out
But
her.
clearly, she was important to the rebellion,
Yeah.
even in the original movie. So
Yeah.
it makes sense that that she would be doing.
Totally.
I recently watched Rogue One, and partly because I wanted to see which characters carried over.
Yeah.
Right.
And a number of them do. Obviously, Mon
Plot
Mothma
armor.
does.
Plot armor.
Yeah,
Plot armor.
plot armor. We know that they're not gonna
Possibly
die.
dead. Possibly
the
dead.
mole, the
The guy with the red hair.
the Imperial
Yeah.
investigation.
The guy that
bureau.
was in the elevator when he's
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
to
the ISB mole. He's
Yeah.
in Rogue One. Her contact is in Rogue. Mon
Yeah.
Mothma's contact is in Rogue One, and Mon
Ah.
Mothma, and Cassian,
Yeah.
and that's pretty much it. So anyone else is fair game. They could get killed.
Not Luthen. Luthen.
Don't you know? No. I mean,
Yeah.
Stellan Skarsgård, you would have noticed if he was in.
Oh,
Rogue
I
yeah,
One.
know.
definitely,
I know.
for
That's
sure.
right. I got to
Yeah,
watch
yeah.
that movie again.
Okay, so
All right,
the
well,
heist itself was really fun. It was
Yeah.
a really interesting
Forrest
thing.
Whitaker, yeah.
We learn
Yeah.
a lot about
Things
again,
go bad.
we just keep learning more and more about
Yeah.
Cassian as these episodes go by, which is great. Things went bad, but not unbelievably bad. It was
No, they
They got away
they
with the money.
succeeded.
Yeah, they got
and
away.
They
It was-
escaped.
Question: what happened to the guy that was in charge of that base? And then
Yeah.
did he get killed in that shootout? I never saw what happened to him.
I
don't
think he
think
did.
s- did he?
I
I
thought
don't
he
remember.
did.
I mean, it makes sense because him and the other guy were left. I thought
Yeah.
left for dead. I just never saw. I don't remember seeing what happened to
this-
him. He must have gotten killed in that shootout.
If he didn't have a long career after that. I don't think.
All right, real quick, I want to say this show does not use the volume, the stagecraft that we've seen in previous Star
Mandalorian,
Wars,
like
The
the-
Mandalorian, and
The LED set. You mean?
right, basically a digital LED set that is extremely convenient and a breakthrough in filming technology, making it so much easier in so many ways. And it's great.
It's
I mean,
great.
You can integrate the digital screen behind you with physical props
Yep.
that seem to
Yeah.
to be part of it. Great stuff. They did not use it at all, and I totally agree with it because some of the creators are saying that
They were practical sets.
they were all practical sets, and this type of show, they said, did not lend itself to using the volume. And he said, you cannot use the volume and not use the volume. It's like you got to decide and you got to use it
Yeah.
or not use it. You can't do both. And they said this was much grittier and realistic in a lot of ways. And I agree, and I like that they didn't use the volume.
love the
because
Ferric
love the
set.
volume.
How big is
but
that set?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
That's
that's
beautiful.
It looks like
They
they
must have
built the
built an
whole
entire
thing.
town.
I mean,
they
they
built
built
the
a
whole
huge.
town. Yeah.
So I totally agree. The set design, the props. I noticed in one part, this cracked me up.
Yeah.
It's when Cassian is having a flashback of him with his dad, and his dad's like boiling these parts that he found.
yeah.
Those were totally like coolers from a PC.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
literally the thing that cools your CPU.
Well, yeah, I mean,
It
but
looked
I mean,
like that because
but-
it's radiating heat away. So it's
Right,
it's
that
a
design
great
would be
design.
common.
No,
For
it's totally
anything that-
cool.
that
I loved
radiates
it. I
heat,
just like
yeah.
I actually
Yeah.
appreciate that. I like when
There's
they,
a lot. Speaking of which, there's a lot of the Star Wars props that we're used to spread throughout.
Oh, totally.
So
the Rebel blasters.
the Rebel blasters were being used
I was
on the
very
prison.
surprised to see that those guys had Rebel blasters.
Yeah, in the prison. I pointed it out to my wife. Like, do you recognize those? Because I have one upstairs. You
Yeah,
gave it to
yeah.
me.
But
Like,
Jay,
that's
we
the
just saw
Rebel
s-
blaster.
Cyril had a DL5 without a
DL
scope. We just
yeah.
saw that at the end of season 12,
Yep.
episode 12.
Well, she's
didn't-
been carrying it the whole time.
I didn't
Yeah,
even
I know.
notice.
No, I noticed it.
I got to watch it again. I want to watch it again to
Yeah.
really, because it's easy to miss stuff.
Yeah. All right. So then,
All right,
We go to the prison.
Cassian goes to prison.
prison. That
The,
sucked.
the big
6
question
years.
is,
Yeah.
well, it
Oh,
turned
man.
6 months became 6 years became you're dead. You're never going to leave here. But the big question is, what were they making? And you said you found
From what
information online.
I saw a
about that.
review, and this guy, I don't know where he got it. This guy was saying that they were building the focusing components for the Death Star's weapon, and that's especially if that's true, if that's been confirmed, if that's canon, that's especially poignant because that one of those elements that Cassian created or built might have been used to kill him at the end of Rogue One. I mean,
right,
it's
yeah.
like, okay, awesome.
But I mean, it makes sense. You probably have all read the analysis. Like, what would it take to build the Death Star? I mean, it would be such a
Yeah,
massive
the economics of the Death Star,
economic and
nuts.
industrial, effort. There has to be, tens of thousands of prison factories
Sure.
like that cranking out components to that Death Star.
Well, you bet they, of course. I mean, that
And
one.
that's why they're like, yeah, we're going to just multiply these sentences by 10, and then we're just going to work these people to death.
Yeah, so and you could tell in that council chamber, they were like, we won't even let them go. Like at some point, and they keep ramping up the evil, and they keep, making it more and more intense. Now that whole buildup that they did in that prison, first, again, stakes were high. I felt the claustrophobic feeling. You got
the
this
oppression, the
total detachment from reality.
Yeah.
Right.
Basically, they were dehumanizing all of those people that were in there. And then what's his face?
Andy Serkis.
Andy Serkis. Oh,
was
God.
great.
Call him Gollum.
I
love him.
I love him in everything I see
I
him
can
do.
watch him do anything. Remember, like in Black Panther, he was just like off the hook. Love that guy. Everything he does, I have loved.
And I
Everything.
thought he fit so well into Star Wars. Like, he was perfect for Star Wars. I hope he shows up again. I would just love to see
Yeah, we
more
don't
of
know
that
what
character.
happened to him.
And I like, something that they didn't have to do. At the end of the jailbreak, Cassian, he could have been the one that got on the microphone and inspired and motivated everyone in that prison to escape. But they didn't do that. They didn't go with that, which most other shows would have done that.
Yeah, but that's not Cassian's character.
That's not his character, and they let Gollum do it, Circus do it, because that was the thing to do. That was the right decision, and they did it. And they make lots of decisions like that over and over throughout
There are
this
so
entire
many
series.
good characters in this one series. This is how you know you're dealing with really good writers who care about character development. You think about Cyril Karn's mother.
Yeah.
A totally throwaway character.
And I loved her to death.
That has nothing to do with
Anything.
anything.
We'll never see her
And
again.
she was
maybe.
an
Maybe with-
awesome, compelling
I loved her.
character, right?
Yeah, she reminded me of people in my life. You know what I mean? Like, reminds you of, like,
Oh man.
that generation, or however you want to look at it. And, like, you see the guy sitting there, and he's, like, literally dying on the inside.
Right.
Like, largely.
soul crushing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the woman from Incredibles. What's it, Mona?
Oh,
What's
yeah.
her name?
Yeah. Yeah, she's awesome.
Oh man.
So then, I was thinking to myself, there's got to be a breakout, because there's no way he's
course.
going to be in there for
Yeah,
6
No.
of course
years.
there's a breakout. Yeah.
And I was trying to figure it out. It was very clever. I really liked like how they pieced it together. I liked how Cassian slowly brought people on board. It all came from Cassian. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this was all his brainchild. And then the water I thought was an interesting thing. The short circuit. The death floor. Oh my God! What an
Right?
idea! Holy shit,
Yeah.
that was scary. I mean, you imagine, like, everywhere you walk is a potential place to die.
smart. It's actually smart.
Yeah, that's what a prison would be like with that technology, right?
And then
It'd be even worse.
I loved the breakout part of it. Felt really good. Like, they built all that tension up. You made us hate a lot of the guards.
Yeah.
Especially that one guy with the poker. That was really, it felt good to see him get killed. And then, they get out, and then immediately they're like, I was like, how are all these guys going to fit on ships? Those ships came and went. But I never thought, they're just going to jump out and swim to land and, make that break for it.
And who knows how many
They probably
actually
most
got
of
out.
them got recaught.
Yeah, or killed.
Yeah.
I literally don't have one negative thing to say about the show up to this point. I was 100% on board
And it
with
built
everything.
nicely. A little bit of laying in the groundwork early on, but still was gorgeous and fun to watch. But then it really builds throughout the season. The last couple of episodes were great. The last episode was stellar.
Of the whole series
Of the
or
whole
of that
se-
chapter?
Of the whole series.
Of the
I
whole
loved
the
yeah.
last episode was fantastic. Yeah, so now let's click over to the funeral now.
Yeah.
So the one question that the three of us asked is, why did Cassian even bother going back to the planet? It
I was
seemed
yelling at him like,
tactically
dude,
not a
right.
smart thing
So
to
the
do.
thing is, I mean, he didn't know for sure that they were there looking for him, but he should have suspected. And, he clearly had an incredibly close relationship with his mother and needed to be there for the funeral because that was a huge thing. It's a town-wide event. So it makes sense. Not everybody makes perfect, rational decisions all the time. People make emotional decisions. So I didn't think it was contrived, right? It didn't it was like, oh, he would never do that. That was so contrived. It was, you could see how it was necessary for the plot, but they sold it. I thought it was fun.
But I one thing that made sense to me was he knew that that Axis was going to be there.
yeah.
What's the character's name in the show? I can't remember. Luthen.
Yeah.
He knew that Luthen was going to be there, and I think he wanted to confront him because he figured out that they were trying to kill him.
Yeah, I think they could have added a little bit more information to make it a little bit more plausible for him to go. Like, for example, that his girl was being tortured.
Yeah, he had to go save her.
And but he didn't find out until he got there.
Got there.
He should have been told that as the extra motivation to get him to the planet.
That would have worked
plot wise. So
Yeah.
but minor
that's a slight
quibble,
tweak, yeah.
So let me throw out here
Yo,
the ship.
his ship.
Yeah.
Luthen's ship.
Luthen's
When
ship.
I saw that early in the season, I'm like, that's a cool looking ship. What are those damn foldable wing things? What's going on with that ship? And then episode 11 happened, where it gets into a battle with like a little Star Destroyer and kicks its butt and takes out 3 TIE fighters to boot. That scene blew me away. Man, if we had 1 or 2 more scenes like that in the season, that was so good.
They cost a lot of money though.
So I did some research. It's a Fondor Hallcraft. It's a civilian freighter, not unlike the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, it had some
and
features.
it's Luthen modded the crap out of it. It had something going on where it shoots out either two lasers or kind of like lightsaber-like energy that he uses to spin and dice up some TIE fighters. Maybe not incredibly practical, but visually it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Some people say that the ship may be powered by kyber crystals. That's one of the theories.
Well, he did have that necklace with a kyber crystal.
That's right.
on it.
His ship might be powered by it. And in the last episode, if you remember, he talks to his AI saying to get the cloaking set up. And now full stealth. Now a ship that small with stealth is almost unheard of. The only other ship that I'm aware of that has that is Darth Maul's scimitar ship, which was another small one.
Yeah.
So that's very rare.
So it cost a ton of money.
That ship might have been one of the more powerful ships in the Star Wars universe at that time. It was definitely up there. So I just love that scene. I want to watch it again, and I can't wait to see what happens with that ship the next season. That ship is awesome.
I thought the actor that played his mother, who was the mother in Harry Potter.
Oh my God! I did not even notice who it was.
She was so spot on. She was so.
She's a great actress.
I mean, she is a great.
She is.
She's
I
great.
mean, all of the actors in Harry Potter are like really
they're all
high-end, awesome British actors.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know,
But she
Kenneth Branagh. You know,
But her being a part of the resistance, and her giving that post-death speech, I thought was such a cool thing to
she
do.
pulled it off.
And then that's what drove that moron to go tip the droid and start that entire that guy's like, enough of this, and you literally like lit the powder
But that's how
keg.
it works. The oppressors use more oppression to try to keep people down, and that just makes them bubble up even more.
Right.
Yep.
So we saw that happen in that one scene, and that's the rebellion in a nutshell.
And
right
that
there.
speech, I mean, that speech that she gave, that could be one of the most important speeches, of the rebellion. I mean, even in the future beyond it, I mean, it's one of the most important speeches. Look what happened. I mean, it basically incited that rebellion that should have made Luthen unbelievably happy. And I mean, that I think we'll see rippled. Rippled and really gave a great nudge to the rebellion. That one speech could have been just so critical. And
it's a big galaxy. Like that scene is getting played out all over the galaxy. They implied that.
Now there was,
but at the same time,
no. I'm just saying.
Yes.
In the aggregate, this is just one little microcosm of a million worlds in the galaxy.
Yeah, but people hear about what happened.
Yeah.
I don't remember what episode this was in, but it might have been the manifesto. Like somebody was saying something that sounded like a recording in the show, where he said that tyranny is brittle. Right? I don't know whose words that were. It was a really cool thing that was being read out loud. I don't remember. Like Cassian might have been like thinking about what he read in that guy's manifesto or whatever. But it was really cool about how they were describing like tyranny is a high energy state. It's not a normal state for humans, and it takes a ton of constant repair and shoring up to make it work. And the resistance, the front line of the resistance is everywhere. Yeah, it's in everybody. Any tiny little bit of resistance weakens the enemy. I just thought all of that was such a cool.
Yeah. I mean, I think the other thing, just given current events in the world, this story has a lot of relevance, and a lot of immediacy, and it's pretty easy to make because you have oppressive regimes and brittle democracies. It's just like the Republic all over the world. And so the Star Wars is a fantastic
Metaphor.
Yeah, or just a genre in order to tell those stories.
Well,
you
I
know?
want to let's get back to
Yeah,
the
that's what science fiction does, right?
Yeah,
yeah, of course. Science fiction is a great foil. It's a great way to show what's happening in our world. I mean, Star
Yeah.
Trek, the original series, and the Next Generation was all about contemporary
Right.
drama.
I mean, even
Yeah.
going back to Gulliver's Travels, right?
Yeah.
It was such a commentary that was hidden in this, fantastic scenarios.
So let's talk a little bit about the Empire and how well they depicted the Empire. I don't think any other Star Wars property has done it quite as well as it was done in this TV series. I think they really show you just how powerful and overarching like strength and
Yeah.
capacity to be evil. This was really like this is
Yeah.
Nazi Germany, right? That's basically what I think Lucas originally was going for. Like you want this oppressive, backed by money, lots of power,
Stormtroopers.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Those are not.
Yeah, it is. It's
Yeah.
all there. But I thought they did such a wonderful
Yeah.
job. I was feeling the claustrophobia of the oppressiveness.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
you don't really feel it in Star Wars.
and
The episode 4, you don't really feel the depth of how bad the Empire is.
you don't feel it. I agree as much at the funeral when the fight breaks out. Everyone did a great job of expressing their frustration. Like they were ready to explode.
Yeah. Yep.
They had enough. The oppression was just at the limit, and they exploded. And they totally showed that, and you realize, yeah, this is the rebellion.
Yep.
This is why it's happening. So I think the bottom line is we all loved it, and they pretty much did everything right. This is the kind of Star Wars storytelling that we want to see.
Yep.
There's some important lessons in here. Kathleen Kennedy, I hope that you're watching and listening to this, is that you don't need to do the same thing over and over again, right? We don't need to have the same story over and over again. There's a million stories to tell within the Star Wars universe. Tell some of them. We don't need to have we don't need
A retread.
Jedis
Yeah.
and lightsabers.
No, they're
and-
good to have. When the
It's-
right
it's
time and
put-
story comes up.
Yeah, it should be like like an exciting cameo, not like, oh, of course they had to trot out this guy again. Absolutely, and it just shows you that you can tell a fantastic story as long as you have good writing, good characters, good story. And it's in the Star Wars universe. There's so much going on there that they can do. So we want more series like Andor. I also think that's what Mandalorian does well.
Yeah.
As well, absolutely. And the Book of Boba Fett, which basically is a companion to Mandalorian.
The only thing good
Mandalorian was
about,
better, but-
the only really good thing about the Book of Boba Fett was the Mandalorian and Luke insert. I mean, I really wanted to like it. Whatever. We already reviewed it.
Yeah.
But again, though,
But they're all heading in the right direction.
Yes, they're trying
They're
to-
all heading in the right direction.
And based on the reactions that I've been seeing to Andor, I'm thinking they're going to get the message that all right.
I hope so.
All right. I mean, because I haven't done a deep dive in like
Movies
reactions.
7,
but-
8, 9? No. That is
No.
not the direction to go in. Don't just
Right.
take all the scenes from the first 3 movies, shuffle them around, and give them to us again.
That little plot wheel thing. Remember we
let me
saw?
put it to you like this: if you don't like Andor, you don't like Star Wars.
Yeah,
Right. That's it.
probably
That
true.
If you don't like it, then just stop talking about it because
But the thing is,
If
honestly,
you don't like it, watch it again.
But it doesn't go the other way. If you don't like Star Wars, you can still like Andor.
Yeah.
You don't have to like Star Wars to like
Right.
Andor because it's good storytelling. It's good characters.
You can't beat it. You
Even
can't
if you've
beat good
never
storytelling.
seen,
You don't need
if
to
you've
know
never-
anything.
You don't need
Yeah,
to know anything.
yeah,
If you've
yeah.
never seen Star Wars before, even if you don't like science fiction, it's just good storytelling,
And
and
it-
that's always got to be at the core. If you have that, then you're good.
Now,
You're golden.
and the other thing we learned is that we're inside the Star Wars universe. There, not only did we get a brand new story, but we learned that this brand has legs.
Yeah.
There, you could literally take the needle and put it down anywhere in the history or in the future, wherever you
Yeah.
want to go. Like the universe functions. It's very compelling. There's like
Just
the
flesh
mo-
out another little corner
exactly
of this universe.
They could go
Absolutely.
back they could go back and tell the origin of the Jedi. There's so many
Yeah.
different things.
How
that they
about
could
going
do.
in the future 1,000 years? How about that?
Whatever.
Did I just blow your mind, Jay?
Yeah, I don't even know how to because
Right? Think about it.
Yeah, it's already futuristic. Like when you go.
Well, I mean, that's got a lot of potential and it's wide open.
But it's good to explore very, very big vistas, right? Not only in space, but in time. That's the thing. It's
Yeah.
like Star Wars encompasses an entire galaxy, and thousands of years of history. And we don't need to look at this
One
that
little slice.
Tatooine over and over again and the same exact plot line over and over again. Just tell us some great stories.
And you know what makes great writing and plot and all that even a little bit better? A couple of more space battles. Throw that into season 2, please. Because
I hear you. I hear
would
you.
Make it even a little bit better.
It was great. I didn't find myself missing it, but when it happened, I'm like, that was awesome. That ship is cool. I really like that.
But
Just like with the new Game of Thrones, you know,
yeah, Bob's like, more dragons.
Yeah,
more
yeah,
More
dragons."
dragons,
But you got to
yes.
realize every time they do it, it's super expensive, and I would rather have them make the show than and take out some of that stuff,
well,
right?
you know, there's certain expectations when, you know, you got dragon in the title of the stupid show.
And
Now, apparently, there's a post-credit scene on the last episode
that we missed.
that we didn't watch yet.
We'll go up and watch
We're
it.
going to go watch it right after.
I have one more
right
thing
after
to
this.
say that
My
I'm happy
God.
about. I'm really happy that Jon Favreau doesn't have to be the only person making good Star Wars
Yeah.
content.
Yeah,
Like, they
true.
have other people. I'm going to do a deep dive on the people that made it.
Give them a raise, please.
Yes. All right, so guys, if you
Yeah.
enjoy this show, holy Christ, we enjoyed this show. If you enjoy watching us talk about shows like this, you can go to Alpha Quadrant and the number 6.com. We have a Patreon, and if you do enjoy the show, please give us some support to keep us going. We also have we take this show and we make it into a podcast. Thank you, Steve. I'm very tired. And what else do we do?
Nothing.
We hang out, we talk to each
Yeah,
other.
we watch science
watch
fiction
science
movies.
fiction.
You write books.
So thank you so
We
much, guys.
have Vigs.
We're gonna go watch that end credit thing now. I hope it's awesome. What is it like? You know, like at the very end of the credits, probably.
How do we miss it? It's not like us.
Because it wasn't Marvel. You know, we were.
Yeah, we didn't
that's true.
expect it.
That's true.
All right, we'll see you next week, everyone.
Bye-bye.
All right,
Jesus.
that was a lot of fun.
All right.
Do you want to run
Yeah.
upstairs and watch it and then come back?
So
Everybody done.
we are going to review 1899. I saw the first
What?
episode.
Oh, wait.
And
Is it worthy?
Steve's talking.
awesome.
Ah, yeah.
1899.
Yeah.
The first episode totally sucked me in.
All right.
So I think that's probably something we're going to review.
And we will talk about this on the live stream.
Yeah. We're going to review in our next batch Alien Christmas. Well,
Yeah.
Christmas coming in. Oh.
Yeah, that's coming
It's
up.
cute.
So,
It's
yeah.
adorable.
Yeah, so if you want to watch that.
Chiodo Brothers made it.
What else are we going to review?
I just completely tapped out. Thanksgiving took me out for a
Yeah,
week.
yeah.
I have to.
We'll
re-engage.
put it out there as soon as we can. We have to record 15 minutes of promotion
She-Hulk.
for
Yeah.
the book,
tonight.
Skeptic's Guide to the Future. Should we let them listen in while we do it? Why not?
Yeah, why not? You guys want to listen? There's the book.
It's going to be audio only, but you know we're just going to do it here.
Ian, can you just record this for us?
Avenue 5. I'm enjoying the second season of Avenue
Oh.
5.
Oh, okay. I haven't
Again,
looked
it's always tricky when you combine
at humor and science
humor and
fiction.
science
Oh,
fiction
that's
and
tough.
a little bit of drama, but you know
That is tough.
it's a sweet spot in there. They're in there. They're okay. Pretty
Okay,
close to
good,
the
good.
sweet spot
I have one question.
in 64 parts.
I forgot to ask this during the show.
Yeah.
Where did Cassian get that component that he was trying to sell in the beginning?
He got it from
when
Bix.
when he was a kid? Was that from when he went aboard that ship? It couldn't have been.
Oh no, it wasn't from Bix. No, what did they
What
say?
component?
He
that
had,
component that he was going to
yeah.
charge like 80,000 credits for or whatever
He
it was.
acquired some of those components, and they were tracking them.
Yeah.
Like he got them all at once, and he was selling them off. And
I
they
just
were-
didn't pick up where he got them from.
Yeah,
That's all.
yeah. I don't remember.
Maybe it's not
I
important.
don't remember. It's a little detailed.
What an awesome show. I could literally watch the whole thing again right
Yeah.
now. You know what I mean? Just to pick
What
up
what
the
I
details.
usually do is like when the second season comes out, I'll rewatch the first season and then go right into the second season.
Definitely, yeah.
It helped. I did that with Mandalorian. That was very, very helpful.
Which should be coming out soon. I'm waiting for that,
I think
man.
January or the next year. It's next spring.
Are we
It's in
going to
the
get a
spring.
Luke Skywalker TV show?
I don't know.
I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys, first off, would you want them to do a full-on Luke Skywalker TV show? Or would you at the very least want to see more of Luke? Because I am totally Team Luke over here. Like,
Yeah.
they did it. The last time they showed us Luke, they showed me that they can do it. Right?
A whole series though would be expensive, wouldn't it?
Fucking throw all their money into it.
I
man.
recently watched Rogue One, and that very last scene of Rogue One, when Leia turns
wasn't good.
around, was like, oh my god, that was so.
Yeah,
bad.
but that was so early on in their...
But why have her turn around?
She didn't need to.
Didn't
We
need
knew
to.
who it was.
Yeah, it's not like we didn't know who the fuck it was. It was crazy.
And what's his name?
Yeah.
He wasn't bad.
Tarkin.
He wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
They semi pulled him off, but she
but,
was
but wait,
horrible.
but keep in mind where we are today, right? The last thing that we saw in the book of Boba Fett when Luke came on, right? We thought that was excellent, a much improved
Yes.
from the very first
Oh my God,
time.
I was giggling.
It's been what, 2 years now? That technology has been revamped 1,000 times since then. Like it's already
All right.
way better. What?
Can
What do
make
we
it
do?
Let's do our
Mid-journey.
book thing.
All right, we got to cut it. We're gonna do it, and we're gonna let the audience listen in.
So we have 5 things.
Okay.
You have to know what those 5 things are.
Okay. Here we go.
Bob and I already went over them.
All right. Never
So
mind.
tell me if you agree.
All right. Go ahead.
All right. So that we need 5 insights from the book,
Okay.
right?
Give me the
So-
first one.
Insight number 1 is that
Biotech
Just
and
be-
machines are going to become more similar. The lines are going to blur between
With
them.
what?
future technology is going to blur the lines between
Biotech.
biology and machines.
I don't like it.
between
Yeah.
between digital and analog,
Yeah.
virtual and meat space, all going to be combined. Into
And
the
that'll
same
be
thing.
everything that we talk about. Those are the 5
No,
things?
No,
that-
that's
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 one,
item
that's
number
one
one. Okay.
insight.
Okay.
3 minutes
Yes.
for each of
How
them.
are we going to only talk for 3 minutes on that?
For that one topic.
Okay. Good luck. All right.
We're going to encapsulate it.
Okay.
We're not giving them all the info in the book. We're just going to encapsulate. This is one thing
Right.
you'll learn.
Got
You'll
it.
learn
Number
this.
1. All right. That's one.
The next one, futurism and science fiction. It's good and bad. It's got good points to it, and it's got bad
But why
points
does it
to it.
generally suck so much?
Yes.
Right?
you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like spaceships are in science
Yes.
fiction. It's all for the story. It's all for the
course,
narrative. It's
yeah.
all for convenience and not reality.
Number
And
3.
Number 3, just because the technology is cool and possible doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Yep.
Like space elevators.
Yes.
4,
Can't predict the future.
well, I
Cannot
want that to
predict.
be 5.
Okay.
That should be the last one.
That's the last
Yeah.
one.
Okay.
Just
What
in
was
sequence,
4?
but you can't predict the future
Yep.
because we could arc out technology, but the future is also just millions of decisions that haven't been made yet, and you can't predict what those are going
Of
to be.
course.
You can't predict what the relationship people are going to have with technology, and that's why we often will give divergent paths that technology can take, and sometimes as divergent as utopia and
Yeah,
apocalypse.
best case scenario,
Yeah.
worst case scenario.
Worst case scenario. Hopefully, we'll be somewhere in between. There.
Yep.
Right.
And what's the 4th
And
one?
what was the last one? Was
Polyuniverse.
Wait, futurism fallacies. That was the second thing we talked about.
oh yeah, the futures and fallacies. That was
Enough time has passed that we can look back and
yes,
say,
yes, that was it.
yes, these are the fallacies that are often committed by futurists.
yeah,
So
okay.
futurism now has enough of a history that we could look back and say, how did they do 100 years ago?
All right. Let's do it.
And why and where they fell down.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
Okay, so we'll record that real quick.
So
Stand by.
this is going to be audio only, so that we send to
Nothing's in the
people
board
that
right
we
now,
send
so
to.
we could.
So just
Ooh,
speaking
new avatar.
speaking to your microphone.
Wait, Ian's talking. One second. What's with that, Ian?
I said nothing's plugged into the board audio-wise, like in terms of a recorder. So I'm just recording video.
Just
Yeah, that's
ate
fine.
4 of these.
As long as the audio comes out good, it's fine.
Yep.
Don't tell us.
All right.
Rolling.
Okay, here we go.
So how should we do the intro?
We should definitely not intro this like we intro AQC.
No.
You should just start. Hey guys, how you doing? We're gonna,
yeah, but we need to say our names. So
Well, you can say I'm sitting here with my brothers Bob and Jay.
okay, all right. You think my question was, do you feel like you need to intro yourselves, or should I just say?
No, intro us. It's
All right.
fine.
Hey everyone, this is Stephen Novella. I'm here with my 2 brothers, Bob and Jay. The 3 of us authored the book, The Skeptic's Guide to the Future, and we want to tell you 5 insights among the many that you will pull away or may pull away from reading our book. The first one has to do with futurism itself. The fact is that futurism has now a 100+ year history. It's been going on long enough that we could look back and see how did futurists of the past do, and then try to learn some lessons from their successes and their failures. And so futurism itself is now sort of an academic, scholarly topic that we can delve into and talk about. For the book, we develop what we call our futurism fallacies. These are the biggest mistakes that past futurists typically make. And of course, we try to avoid making them ourselves when we try to think about the future of technology.
Yeah, and they come up over and over
Yeah.
and over again, which in and of itself is a lesson,
Yeah,
right? That the future is so unbelievably hard to predict, and we are so biased by our current culture that we're steeped in, that we almost can't get out of our own way. That's why it's a common trope among the three of us to talk about how in the 50s, when they talked about the future was people of the 50s living in some supposed future. But no, the people of the 50s would not be in that future. It's going to be futuristic people that are going to be in the future.
Right, and there's no attempt at all, really, back then, and even and now, this is very common. There's no attempt to pull the culture out of the current culture out of that prediction in the future. It's something that's just a knee-jerk kind of reaction that futurists have. They can't help it. And it's also, and there's a good reason why you can't help it, because it's hard. It's really hard to say, what are people going to be like? What are they going to think like in the future? And what's their reaction to technology going to be? That's almost impossible to predict.
But we love to project ourselves into the future, and I don't blame them. Like when we talk about, I want a jetpack, I want a flying car, I want an electric car. These are all things that are even in the near future, but we're putting ourselves in the position to be the recipients of that technology, and it's not going to be us.
What other ones are there? I mean, there's other things where people will often predict in the future technologies that will do away with all the other similar technologies. Like it goes away. Like no, if you look at how technology is spread and developed, often you'll have the older technology coexisting with the new technology. It doesn't go away, and often one finds a niche that you maybe never even anticipated it would find.
Things won't change just to change. When something works, even if it's low tech, it has a remarkable persistence into the future.
You will be cutting your vegetables with knives for centuries.
For a long time.
Look at vinyl records.
Yeah.
They're still here. I'm literally,
yeah.
I shouldn't say this, but I'm getting my wife a couple of records that, she has a vinyl record player.
My daughter has a vinyl record collection. Go figure.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to the next one. So just because a technology is possible and it's cool and it looks futuristic, does it mean it's going to happen?
But they have to happen.
Yeah. So there's lots of reasons why a technology will not become part of the future, not be developed, not be incorporated. So I think the biggest one in the book that we do a really deep dive on is the space elevator.
Yeah.
And that's a big one for us because we love the idea of the space elevator. Basically, you have a cable that you connect to the equator at one end and to geostationary orbit at the other end, and you have elevators go up and down the cable as your way of getting into space instead of launching rockets. And once you have a space elevator, then it becomes very cheap and convenient to get lots of stuff into space, and it could become an invaluable piece of infrastructure for a spacefaring civilization. However, it's probably never going to happen, is the conclusion, once you really do a deep dive on the practicality of it, right? The physics are pretty wonky. They're not impossible. It's
on the edge of probably impossible. We need some major breakthroughs in materials technology.
For Earth, we should say.
This is for Earth, because
Mars is a different story.
Other planetary smaller bodies, it may be eminently practical, and it may happen. But for the Earth, and also there's other potential problems. It would be too easy for terrorists to knock it down. Imagine you knock that down. Oh my! That would be an environmental disaster in a lot of ways.
But that's one of the things we don't think about, because that's one of the futurism fallacies, is that we imagine the future as a technological utopia, or that the end of history, where all the conflict has resolved itself, and now we don't think about the fact that this is going to be a real world with all the conflicts we have today, or whatever similar their conflicts that are similar to what we have, and that's a space elevator would be a massive target for terrorism. Would it be worth it? Would you invest that much into that piece of critical infrastructure when one bomb can take it out?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's so fragile. The whole thing is so fragile. Even imagining advanced materials, for
right, and especially now with launch costs coming way down. It may,
that's the other thing.
The financial push might not be there.
You have to think of competing technologies. Even though we can do it, there might be an easier way to do it. When you do a more of a thorough, holistic analysis, even the cool possible technologies may never come to fruition. All right, insight number 3. This is a really cool one that kind of gets developed through multiple chapters in the book, and that is that biology and machines, and I would also say virtual reality and meat space, and digital and analog. All these things are slowly merging. And the ultimate, when you play out these technologies into the future, they kind of all meet in the middle. Biology becomes more mechanistic, machines become more biological, the meat space becomes more digitized. Like a 3D printer is a perfect example of that. You have a 3D printer, you're taking a digital image on your computer and turning it into a physical object.
Yep.
That's digitizing the world. And you keep extrapolating that technology out, and you end up with, like, there really isn't a difference anymore between these things. Like the physical world is virtual.
Today there is, but in the
there is. I'm saying, yes, we extrapolate into the future. So that is an important insight, because we even ask, like, are we going to be solving this problem with biological approaches or machine approaches? And the answer is kind of, they're going to be in the middle.
Yeah.
It's both, really.
And also, my take is that it would be a third category. It won't be biological. It'll be post-biological and post-mechanistic in ways that we can't even imagine right now. Like, it could be some sort of nanotech metamaterial that we just can't even quite wrap our heads around right now.
So when you ask questions like, is there going to be a robot apocalypse? Again, we're thinking about current technology, and then the steampunk version of that, meaning that we take our current concept of what technology is, and then we just make it more sophisticated and advanced, but we don't change the very nature of the technology itself in our imagining of what the future might be like, right?
Because the answer is that we may very well be those robots.
Right.
Like humans might merge with machines, and
technology might make the very question itself obsolete.
Right, because
exactly.
it's easy to extrapolate the present.
Yes.
It's much harder to come up with that change that nobody is seeing coming.
How many disruptive technologies are between us and them? And not only that,
Right.
but and we see this, we read science and technology news every day, and almost every time you see some like new technology being discussed in the mainstream media, the application, because this is the thing. They say, what would this be used for, right? Whatever they imagine it would be used for is not the thing it's going to be used for.
Right.
Right? It's like, it's just the most obvious thing. Yeah, you're solving a current problem with this new technology, but that's by the time that technology matures, it's going to be used to solve future problems.
Right.
Yep.
Like my phone 20 years ago. Bob, here's your smartphone. Oh, great. I'll FaceTime with everybody. I could see everybody just like in the sign. No, I'm going to use it to send text to people. That's going to be my primary form of communication. Not a phone, not video, but sending text. Nobody saw that coming. That's why it's so hard to predict how things are going to be used.
The fourth insight
What else?
is the relationship between science fiction and futurism. So
Yeah.
a lot of science fiction, not all of it, but a lot of science fiction takes place in the future. And whenever a science fiction author has to imagine the future, they're doing futurism, whether they realize it or not. And so we're fans of science fiction and technology and futurism. So we explore a lot in the book. What is that relationship? How do they do? How do science fiction writers do when they imagine the future?
Yeah.
Generally pretty bad is the answer. They generally do pretty poorly.
But let's make it known, it is very hard.
But
it's not it's beyond hard. It's also their goals are not accuracy. They're slaves to the narrative.
Right. They want to tell a story.
They got to tell a story, and sometimes science just gets in the way. And you got to just say screw it, and you got to get the gimmies, right? The things that faster than light travel and artificial gravity. You got to give it, because otherwise
you got to get your hero to the action fast, right? You can't spend
Right.
years getting to your destination. And also the people in the future, we need to relate to them. The people in the story.
They have to be human.
Yeah, they have to be human. They're not going to be transhumans. There are some stories about transhumans. Yes, you can find
And
that.
they're
science
fun,
fiction, but a lot of science
tough.
fiction just says, we'll just make them human so that the reader can relate to these characters. So there's a lot of narrative devices and the needs of the story kind of trump futurism in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Also, there's practicality, like pretty much all ships have artificial gravity, right? Why? Because the actors are on a stage with gravity, and it just makes it a lot easier if you just say So there's a lot of that hand waving.
Not impossible, but it's much easier.
But again, what are we talking about
gravity
here?
in
We're
there.
talking about telling stories about humans.
Yeah.
And we need to be able to tell that story in a way that there's pacing and it makes sense, and we can't have it be so unbelievably different than what people are used to, right? Or else the story doesn't function anymore. And that's okay. And we do that. We suspend our disbelief all the time in order to receive good, what we consider to be good and fun science fiction. We have to. We just have to, as a consumer, we have to be okay with it.
The thing I think that the science fiction writers get the most wrong is space travel.
Oh yeah.
Even when they're trying to be accurate, because space travel, it's not going to be the romantic vision that every science fiction story, whether it's a movie or a book or a TV show, whatever, gave us, right? Because we are projecting basically sailing ships into space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And you got to deal with, no show like really realistically deals with the killer radiation in space that was going to be there. Like, you can't be sitting in front of a window. Sorry, it's just not going to happen.
But that's because all the writer has to do, even if they end up mentioning it, all they have to do is just say it's not a problem.
Yeah.
They figured out something
Heisenberg
around it.
compensators.
Yeah.
But that said, Steve, I'm reading right now Ware's Project Hail Mary, which is super hard science, super accurate, and it doesn't do any of that stuff. It covers pretty much all the bases. So just recommended right there.
All right, and the final insight that you will get from this book about the future is that you can't predict the future. And we don't try to predict the future. We're not predicting the future. We're not mediums, right, or whatever. What we're trying to do is just extrapolate possible pathways for technology into the future.
That's a very polite way of saying that we do make predictions in the book.
Well, we give glimpses of possible futures.
Yeah.
Right.
But we discuss where these technologies may very well be in 5-10 years, type of thing.
And also we distinguish, though, which I think is important, what the limits of the physics. And this is physically possible. This isn't like a gravity generator. It's not going to happen. We're probably, you could be very confident saying we're not going to have these things in the future.
We're probably not going to go faster than light.
Yeah, all that stuff. So that's what we try to do that too. So you don't have to say in the year 29,000 we're going to have, this is possible. I don't know when it's going to happen, but if we wanted to do this, we probably could do this right here.
Like one of my favorite but disappointing things that I've realized in researching this book, and we've heavily discussed it, is that we probably won't even get close to the speed of light.
No.
Let alone the speed of light is impossible for people to travel because you have to.
Well, there are ways to get to like 60%, 70%, but it's interstellar travel is never going to be easy and convenient. Nope, it's not. We're not going to be zipping along at warp speed. It's not going to happen.
Unless like wormhole technology is created.
But getting back to the you can't predict the future thing. So for when we talk about certain specific technologies or maybe how different technologies
like AI,
interact,
for example, super
like AI or nanotechnology or lots of technologies. First of all, you have to think about not one technology in isolation, but how multiple technologies are going to be interacting with each other.
Yep.
But also, we give a range of possibilities. Like, here's the best case scenario, some kind of techno-utopia. And here's the worst case scenario, which always seems to be some kind of apocalypse, where that ends humanity. Right. And so, probably we'll end up somewhere in between, and hopefully more towards the utopia side than the either dystopian side or the full-blown apocalypse end of the spectrum. But a lot of the technology, when you keep going into the future, like even if you just take, nuclear technology, we could have nuclear power and nuclear bombs, from the same basic technology. Yeah. So it's the same thing, we could have robots could make our lives easier. They could take over the world. Nanotechnology could, revolutionize manufacturing
or swallow up everything in a gray goo.
Swallow up everything in a gray goo, and which is sort of the fun, the insight that wraps all that together is the future is ultimately made of the choices that we make today, that all 8 billion people on this planet make. Some have a bigger effect than others, but still, it's the cumulative effect of all these decisions. But not just us today; it's everyone tomorrow and the next day and the next year and the next decade. It's all of those decisions between now and whatever future you're imagining is what's really going to create that future. You can't predict the future because it's not inevitable. The future is not inevitable. It is created by us, by the decisions that we make. That's I think the highest level insight that you get out of the book. All right, guys. Always fun to chat with you about our book, The Skeptic's Guide to the Future. I hope if you're listening to this, I hope you pick up the book and you enjoy reading it.
All right. It's a wrap.
All righty, it's a wrap.
So I would like
Wait,
to first
do you
thank
want
Ian.
to-
What?
Yes, thank you,
Do you
Ian.
want to watch? Look what I got.
Yeah.
Do you want to watch the end post-credit scene?
Yeah, let's do it.
What are we doing?
This is the
Everybody-
post-credit scene. Wait, put your earphones
I
in,
gotta
guys.
put the
Ah,
earphones-
wait.
Yeah,
Mine
just
on?
make sure you can hear.
Good idea,
Yeah.
Ian.
Wait, put your earphones in.
Let me turn that speaker up.
It's delayed.
Just make sure you can hear.
Oh, wait, take your earphones out.
Why?
I'll turn it off.
Wait, can you hear yourself? Let's see. Can you hear that? You can hear that,
What are you
right?
seeing?
All right, I'm back. Go ahead.
You could hear that?
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
I can hear you.
All right, everybody. Here, hold on, let me stop this. Yes. But you should be able to hear this audio too.
Yeah. Oh, they got robots making
Oh,
those
damn,
things.
Bob.
Yep.
That's okay.
Confirmed.
My source was right. Holy crap. Why? Of course they did that. Of course they did that. That's the perfect scene to throw in. Oh,
Those bastards.
Nice.
nice. I was right.
Yeah.
My source was
Good
right.
job, Bob.
How did we miss that? That's beautiful.
Fucking beautiful.
All right, that's good. Thank you, everyone.
right.
We will see you. We might do an episode next week or
Or the week
or the week after. But we
Yeah.
got
All right.
December 15th. We got that show in Arizona.
Arizona,
so
we'll be in
it's
Arizona,
coming
yeah.
up quick. And just in case we don't hear from or see any of you guys, have a wonderful holiday.
Yep. Enjoy all your holidays and great New Year. We'll see you.
Yeah,
at
but we'll
some
probably
point.
see you before then. All right.
All right. Good night.
Ciao.
All right, guys.
Ian, thank you.
You need
Alrighty.
to get that to Allie.
Bye bye, everybody.